I'll be reading from the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verses 1 to 14, using the Common English Translation Bible. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word was with God in the beginning. Everything came into being through the Word, and without the Word, nothing came into being. What came into being through the Word was life, and the life was the light of all people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness doesn't extinguish the light. A man named John was sent from God. He came as a witness to testify concerning the light, so that through him everyone would believe in the light. He himself wasn't the light, but his mission was to testify concerning the light. The true light that shines on all people was coming into the world, and the world came into being through the light, but the world didn't recognize the light. The light came to his own people, and his own people didn't welcome him. But those who did welcome him, those who believed in his name, he authorized to become God's children, born not from blood, nor from human desire or passion, but born from God. The Word became flesh and made his home among us. We have seen his glory, glory like that of a father's only son, full of grace and truth.
Dear God, be with Pastor Jonathan as he brings us your message. Help us move forward like a never-ending stream of living water, flowing toward calmness, purity, mindfulness, and detachment, to let go and not sink, but to swim forward to life's flow. Amen. God bless you, Jonathan. Here, take this card.
All right. Thank you, Dennis. I've been thinking a lot about bodies lately, both generally as I study the anatomy charts of bones and muscles and discs and different states of deterioration that my physical therapist has displayed on the walls. And specifically, I'm thinking about my body, too, as I continue this slow recovery from herniating a disc in my lower back. Early on in my recovery, Chris Kaufman had told me to pay attention to my healing, but to mark the changes by the week, not by the day. Day to day, you won't see improvement, and that can be discouraging, she told me, but just pick a day and note what you can do this week that you couldn't do last week. Nathan Kirst also helped me early on to settle in for the long haul. I was originally thinking I would be off for a day or two for this injury, and I called him when I panicked, realizing that I was not going to be better by the end of that first week and go back to business as usual. It was unthinkable that I would be enduring this pain and this severe physical limitation for a whole week. This is not who I am, this hobbling, sedentary, weepy, dependent mess. I work out, I'm independent, I push through limitations. Nathan assured me that everything sounded normal for my injury and there was really nothing more I could do other than going to physical therapy. But that reminder is so scary because it's a reminder of how fragile our human functionality is. We don't just go on and on like a machine. We're quite finicky. Anything could happen and anything does. So while Nathan was satisfied that I was progressing at pace, he again told me to pay attention to anything getting worse, to muscle weakness in my injured leg or any incontinence. Thankfully, incontinence never became a part of my experience, but I've been thinking a lot about it. And about the indignities of the human body. How our consciousness, our minds, and our emotions come in these meat sacks. About how gross we are, sweat and blisters and pimples and pustules and all their accompanying smells. our daily need to void our bladders and bowels, and the vulnerability of needing others to help us with those functions, even as babies and children. There's no shame in needing help at that age, but it's gross. I love my nieces and nephews, and I count it as an honor that I've been entrusted to change a few of their diapers. It's very intimate, and it's vulnerable, and it is so smelly. Those of us who have learned to do things by ourselves and then have to rely on others to do things we used to be able to do for ourselves add that feeling of embarrassment to that of vulnerability. We don't like to think of our creatureliness in that way. When we're first dating someone we're really attracted to, most of us are thinking about that person in the best of terms. The shape of their figure, their beautiful face, that voice or that expression that just lights us up. Their laugh, their walk, their thoughts and feelings and dreams and beliefs that take us out and above our physical form to hover a little lower than the angels. Most of us are conveniently forgetting about what happens internally to the food and drink we're consuming together and where those repurposed fluids and solids and gases will go by necessity later on. But not so very far down the road, as that relationship becomes more intimate, we become very aware of how earthbound our angel is. So I'm paying more attention to my body than I ever think I have before. I've been working intermittently for several years on becoming more aware of my body, and right now I don't have much of a choice. So as I'm studying John 1 here, with all its metaphysical, cosmic, disembodied language of the Word who is with God and was God, and is also light and life, lots of metaphors, I'm also thinking about the limitations of the human body. And what a funny thing it is that we celebrate God becoming human. The eternal, infinite, other, creator of all things, who has always been in the world in some way since the beginning of creation as Word, light, life, now in Jesus enters the world in a new way. God develops from a zygote to an embryo to a fetus in a young girl's womb for 9 months, squeezes through her birth canal accompanied by screams and blood and pain, takes his first breath in a very complicated world as the child of vulnerable minorities, traveling to comply with their overlord's census. And whatever Away in a Manger might tell us, as a human baby, very much crying did he probably make. How strange, how shocking, how impossible for incorporeal spirit to confine itself to a body, for the eternal to enter the flow of time, for the infinite to narrow itself to a finite point in time and space, to a very particular culture and religious heritage and political structure and gender norms. How do you fit the ocean in a teaspoon? Lots of wise thinkers have balked at the math of God becoming human. How and why? The math isn't mathing. Divinity is one thing, holy, separate, other, out there, transcendent and ineffable. Divinity doesn't follow the laws of physics or thermodynamics or relativity or any of the other systems that govern our world. Humanity is quite another thing. We are inescapably part of this world and the laws that govern it. We are animals defined by the same 7 biological characteristics as every other living thing. We're made of cells that give us structure. We respond to environmental changes. We metabolize energy. We regulate our internal environment. We grow and develop. We adapt over time and we reproduce. And eventually we die. To add a spiritual component, we get confused and forget. We falter and we fail. We lie and we cheat. We are cruel, petty, manipulative, and sometimes murderous. We live in the darkness of empire and have been formed by it so that our imaginations are limited by its dimensions. We do not recognize the light. We cannot grasp it. Where the CEB says that darkness cannot extinguish the light, the NIV says that it cannot overcome the light. But that word for extinguish or overcome can also be translated as grasp or understand. With such a gap between humanity and divinity that created it, how could the two beings touch, let alone exist in one person? Our Muslim siblings share this theological concern that God is too holy, separate to touch humanity so directly instead of through messengers or prophets. Our Jewish siblings question how God, who is one, could become human, because wouldn't that separate God into pieces? Even in Christianity, we've struggled with this human God-touching thing. The Catholic Church is worried about how Mary, as the God-bearer, the mother of God, could herself be holy enough to carry God within her. And so in 1854, Pope Pius IX declared in the apostolic letter Ineffabilis Deus that the Virgin Mary herself was preserved free from all stain of original sin. And thus we have the doctrine of the Immaculate Conception, so that Jesus' Immaculate Conception is further removed from our creatureliness. Unless you think that I'm pointing out the speck of sawdust in anyone else's eyes and not looking at the logs in our own tradition, Menno Simons, along with other Dutch theologians of his time, shared this concern for the purity of Jesus and built a theology to maintain the separation from humanity and divinity. He believed that Jesus must have had a celestial body that was formed in heaven and therefore not of the same stuff as us humans, and that this celestial body merely passed through Mary like water through a pipe. Leave it to the Mennonites to really take the shine off the mystery. I bring this all up because we're dealing with some high metaphysical language here in John. We're dealing with existential questions that people everywhere have wrestled to find solutions for and struggled to put language to for millennia around the world through different religions. Human and divine are two different things. How could they be one? I want us to think about what we're saying about Jesus and how weird the incarnation is, how weird Christmas is to celebrate the bodily development and delivery of an infant who is also a deity. If we're serious about Jesus being God, then God had an umbilical cord. God had his toenails trimmed. God got sick. To paraphrase my theology prof in seminary, there is no theological position without problems. You just pick which theological problems you're willing to live with. For me, humanity and divinity meeting in Jesus is achingly beautiful. It is impossible and nonsensical. Yes, how could these two natures coexist in one person? And yet, how beautiful that God would choose to overcome the distance between us and God. The distance is real, but so is God's infinite wingspan to reach us. And when humanity and divinity touch, how amazing it is that God's metaphysical, holy, separate otherness is not tainted by contact with us in our messy, limited creatureliness. That Jesus' divinity doesn't become less divine for being housed in human flesh and bone. That the two can touch is again because God, unbound by the laws of physics, can touch us. The incarnation reiterates that God's creation, namely us, but everything really, is good. John echoes Genesis 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. In the beginning was the Word. And in becoming human, God reminds us that the world that God created good is still good. And God is not afraid to move into the world that God created and get dirty hands, or get hands, really. God coming to us as one of us lifts us up, sanctifies us. We are amazing. What a miracle human development in the womb is, that the genetic material from two people can combine and copy and divide and differentiate to form complex organs and eyes, and all in the right time to produce a baby that's ready to breathe and eat and void on its own in 9 months. And whatever condition our bodies are in, how amazing is it that our bodies can heal themselves and adapt to problems and reflect our experience in our minds and create art. And how amazing is our God who knows from experience how impressive we are and how fragile we are, both. Who knows what it's like to be human in all its glory and frustration. How cool is it that we have a God who knows the warm comfort of a hug and the lonely sting of being rejected, the scratchy pain of a sore throat, and the sweet delight of a juicy pomegranate. Our infinite God knows the power of speaking the word to set reality in motion in a blaze of eons of light, and the finite childhood fear of what lies in the darkness just be out of sight. The sensation of gathering information from endless dimensions, and the feeling of your whole world shrinking down to being held in your mother's arms. Be amazed that the eternal, infinite other became flesh and dwelled among us. As I finish, I want you to join me in a little exercise. I want us to pay attention to our own bodies this morning. So take a deep breath. Slow your breathing. Put your hands on your heart, slightly left of center. Close your eyes or soften your gaze. Then connect with all the life that's flowing within you. Connect with your beauty. And give grace to your brokenness. Connect with your strength. And make space for your frailty. Connect with your finiteness. And with your connection to your forebears who provided the genetics you bear. And with the stardust, the elements that comprise you. And connect with God, the Word who was with God and is God and became flesh and dwelt among us. Amen. God is always breaking our binaries. Light and dark, human and divine, both can exist together without overlapping or overcoming the other. What does Jesus' incarnation mean for you today? What hope can you find to hold the various disparate parts of yourself together? What grace can you extend to allow yourself to slow down and be human? What grace can you find for others after you've made space for yourself? What new connections can you build to God and with God as you imagine new ways in which Jesus lived as you lived, and so God knows life as you know life? What questions can you give yourself permission to tackle as you attempt to put words to these high-concept theological questions? May the words of the Gospel of John continue to live with us, comforting us and confronting us, just like anyone we live with. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word became flesh and dwelled among us. Amen.
We'll be singing 256, Noel. We will sing it twice through and then repeat the chorus.